more I've told this story and the more I've realised the thing you can't do is understand what she was thinking.
The mother took advantage of men she met on dating apps, her victims now desperate to stop her duping others.
How could anyone manage to keep the levels of lies going? What could the possible end game be?
You know, we're talking here, probably one of the worst things someone can do to another person.
The deeper it got, the more shocked we got. Like, we just couldn't believe someone would sink to those depths.
To drag so many people into it.
You don't question someone when they tell you that they have cancer.
If someone you love dies, you've lost them. But this is a situation where that person I was with, I never had her. She's not real. Perth's beautiful. It's a little bit too hot through the summer. During the spring and the autumn, it's almost perfect. I do a number of different jobs. A lot of work with local football here, do team building events, do disability support work.
I'm very proud. You want your children to grow up to be nice, kind, moral people, and yeah, that's what he is.
In 2016, I was single at the time. I had been for a little while. I'd sort of had a bit of a history of bad relationships. I've never let that stop me from meeting people or from wanting to be open with people. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of life is the relationships you have with everyone you meet.
And he was looking for someone to settle down with. Sean's just a very paternal guy. As long as I've known him, he's wanted kids of his own. He's just got the perfect personality to be a dad. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
So I was on Tinder. Came across a profile under the name of Arrow. Just arrived in Australia from the UK. She was planning on travelling around Australia in her van with her 6-month-old kid. We talked a lot and it was a good vibe. She was funny and conversation was easy. So we met in Fremantle, which is a beautiful little area by the ocean, and we just went down for some chips and a beer. She was confident, charismatic. She was a writer. But I hadn't met anyone like her before. The baby, Sarah, really stole the show. In terms of first dates, it was really lovely, yeah. We had a few nights where we'd take the van up to the beach and have some Chinese and some beers. Very nice romantic sort of evenings. Yeah, life was good.
Sean was super excited. Like, I think for as long as I've known him, he's wanted his own family. He's wanted to have a kid, and he didn't mind that it wasn't his own kid. He seemed really, really stoked to be seeing someone who, had a kid that he could look after as well. I was really happy for him.
Come on, no cheating.
You got it. He seemed to be very happy with this new relationship. I look forward to meeting her and Sarah.
Sarah's father was in the UK. She told me that he was abusive. That was also the reason for the name Arrow, was that she had to change her name. We'd been dating for a few months. It was another night up in the van by the beach. Arrow was a bit cagey and seemed a bit down. She said, "We need to have a talk." She was obviously upset, just thinking, like, what could this possibly be? Eventually, she tells me she has terminal liver cancer. She said estimates would vary from different doctors, but about 6 months to live. It was a shock. It was a big shock. After the date, first thing I did was text my best mate.
My heart just sunk. He was really happy in this relationship. Have the impending doom of her being taken away, that was pretty hard to hear.
You've got 100 things going on in your mind and you just don't know what to do. I think I just thought, you know, if she is going to die, I can try and help her have the best end to her life that she can and help Sarah have the best start to her life that she can. You feel really close to someone when you hear something like that. It kind of brings you together. The way I saw Arrow was that she was just a fighter and she would carry on.
You try?
She would say that how grateful she was to have me in her life, and we can't believe that we found you. I did really care for her and Sarah as well, and just wanted to do what I could to make their lives a little bit better.
Sean was committed to a relationship which wasn't going to end well. And so I admired that from him, but I could also see that there was hard times to come. And so I had a great deal of concern for him. We need to support both Arrow and Sean and, of course, Sarah.
The relationship just very gradually evolved. There wasn't really the living situation. She had a couple of different houses she was staying at. She'd moved from place to place. She continued to have aches and pains. There were mornings she'd be up, sort of throwing up, and it was very up and down. There would be weeks where it seemed like everything was fine, there was nothing wrong, and then she'd be really sick. When she was down, it was bad. In terms of like financial support, she'd always have things in the pipeline, but nothing that ever amounted to a job. I would just support as much as I could. I'll pay for whatever I can contribute and afford. I would give her money for medical bills. If Sarah needed things, I'd buy them. Whatever we needed, I'd try and provide it.
The hours that he was working were putting a massive strain on his health. I definitely noticed his mood had changed, and that was really hard for me to see. He was seeing his friends a lot less than he used to. He cut down on inviting people over, he cut down on things that he loved.
If you want to go Perth to Adelaide and just drive as much as you can, it'll take a couple of days. This was one of her bucket list plans. Cool opportunity to be able to do a bit of that with her and spend some time with just the three of us over to Adelaide, which is where my family live.
When they arrived, Sean jumped out of the vehicle and handed Sarah straight to me. My heart just went, wow. This is amazing. Arrow jumped out, gave me a hug. There was almost an immediate bond. I felt like I'd known her for a long time.
It was nice to see all the family with my adopted daughter, I guess, is the best way to put it. Everyone got along really well. We'd been there a few nights. I was sitting on the couch at my auntie's place, and Arrow had left her phone on the table and walked off to go to the toilet, and a message popped up on the screen. Obviously, that's not the message you want to see the person you're dating getting. What the hell, what's going on here?
Look, I'm in widower style. In 2016, life was a bit chaotic for me. Well, I'd recently, not divorced, but left my long-term partner I was engaged with, and some friends encouraged me to get into online dating. So I was on Tinder, yep, she's cute, swiped right, and then sort of moved on from it and didn't think anything of it until we matched. Her name was Arrow, or name's Rebecca. Arrow was a pseudonym when she was writing for a university magazine when she was studying. Writing style was sharp and to the point, so they called her Arrow, and she liked the name, so she wanted to keep it. We ended up arranging to meet in South Fremantle. I remember waiting around for her, and she rocked up in her van. She brought her daughter, Sarah. I do remember distinctly her stare. I remember telling some friends afterwards, I feel like this woman was like reading my soul and really looking, engaging who I was. She was a free spirit, and I really liked that. The relationship naturally grew. We'd see each other for a few days, and quite often she'd go back to her house, and we'd still be in contact and talk every day. Very quickly at the time, I felt like I was falling for her. They had a lot of things running through my head, just like, what do I do? It's not my responsibility. I've only just met you, and 3 months is kind of this time where it's pretty short, but it's long enough to develop a bit of the connection. It took me a while or so to get my head around it and understand the gravity of it and what that actually meant. It's the only word to describe it as emotional at the time. When you have a terminal illness, you don't need 50 people helping you with things. You need 1 or 2 kind of committed to supporting and going, yep, this is Earth, I'm gonna do it. Para would want to go to somebody's appointments by herself, so sometimes I'd drop her off, pick her up. Sometimes I would look after Sarah, take her for a walk. Done a lot of work to support Sarah and make sure she had things she needed. At one point was after a shower. She showed me there was some hair on the pillowcase and she had some on her hand and she was like, look, with some of my hair's falling out. It was a big thing to see if like these symptoms are in front of you, which was a little bit distressing. Arrow raised to me that she wanted to do a trip across the Nullarbor. She wanted to do it by herself. What we agreed to do was that I would fly over to Adelaide and meet her in Adelaide, and we'll drive back together. It'll be a great experience. She might have had 9 or 10 days in total to get across and a few days in Adelaide. I would talk to her multiple times a day, lots of messages. There was maybe one day where I don't hear from her much.
She said Steve was her gay friend. You don't have anything to worry about. And I thought, regardless, it's a strange message for a friend to be sending. She said he'll do things like send that message and say, oh, that was for Sarah or something. And she explained it, and it was sort of what I wanted to hear, some kind of explanation, and I was happy enough to hear it. On my birthday, which was a day or 2 after the big fight we had, she sort of pulled me over at one point and said, like, yeah, I've got to tell you something. She tells me that she's pregnant. That's pretty big news. I was ready to have a kid of my own. Just so over the moon. After obviously such a big fight, we both bonded over that and just saying like, oh, I'm so glad we sorted that out. There was so much love and it was so positive and so uplifting.
Oh my God, I think I probably screamed, which was a bit embarrassing for everyone. Then the reality started to bite. You start to think about what that really meant in terms of Arrow's long-term illness, coping with a partner who was going to die.
I was very concerned. There was something that wasn't quite adding up when someone's only got 6 months to live and now they're pregnant. But I didn't want to voice my concerns too much to Sean because he was super excited at this time and I didn't want to kind of bring that down because it was, yeah, great to see him happy.
Arrow came up with the idea that I should stay in Adelaide with my family for a few more days and she'll drive back with Sarah. Part of what she wanted to do when she came to Australia was to travel with just her and Sarah and go and see the country. And now that she's pregnant, she's not going to be able to do that ever. That was sort of off the cards.
I didn't think it was a particularly good idea because the Nullarbor is a long way and things can go wrong, particularly with a young child in tow. But one of the things I admired about Arrow was that she was brave and adventurous, and this was something that she wanted to do to share with Sarah.
What if something happens? What if you get really sick? You're still unwell, you're now pregnant with my child. She said she'd take it really easy, she'd stay near hospitals, she'd make it work. I still didn't think it was the best idea, but in her mind, if that's what she really wanted to do.
Flew into Adelaide Airport. Out comes the man. Arrow jumps out. "I'm so glad to see you. Thanks for being here. Really happy to see me." She was like, yeah, really bubbly, and I haven't seen her like that for a while. Stopped at some really great places, saw some great scenery, met some interesting people. It was a busy trip.
We got photos, we got updates on things like, oh no, the van's broken down. And I remember looking at ways that we could potentially go to her rescue. There was always a way to, I guess, put us at ease. Some of the photos I probably should have questioned, well, how did you get that photo? Obviously, a third person came along, but the truth is that Sarah was such an engaging little child that if a stranger walked by, they would be almost drawn like a magnet to that child.
It became very apparent that Arrow was quite excited about the pregnancy. She'd send, dozens of messages about, it would either be panic about, oh my God, am I still gonna love her when she's heavily pregnant and her feet are enormous. She found a little kid's outfit on the drive back with Small Fry, my last name being Fry. I was excited. She'd asked me if I had any Australia Day plans, and she had said she'd been asked by some friends, like from a mother's group or something, to get away and go camping. I had work, and so she ended up just going down by herself. The same sort of thing with the drive back over the Nullarbor. I was thinking, like, are you okay to be like camping? Like, shouldn't I be, you know, there if anything happens or whatever? But it was very much, you know, it's just going to be really easy. I'm just going to be sitting in a camp chair and relaxing, and there's heaps of people around to help. So she sort of put my mind at ease that, yeah, she wouldn't have enough support. And I got a message. An hour would go past, a couple of hours. My mind's just swimming in all these possible things, what could be happening. Eventually, she messaged back and said, yeah, I've got to tell you something. Yeah, it was a tough message to get. just tried to hold it together.
I just got a message from him. He just told me that Arrow had had a miscarriage. It was pretty hard to hear, seeing him go from being like the happiest I've seen him to having the thing that made him that happy just be ripped away from him that quickly.
I could only imagine what it would be like to endure that loss of a child. I felt very, very sad for them. It was very, very difficult seeing my son in the level of anguish that I imagine he would have been in.
It was all just so unfair. Like it just seemed like nothing would go right. My view on it all was I need help as much as I can. We had lawyer fees, court costs, things starting to pile up a little bit in terms of expenses.
Arrow's ex-partner was investing a lot of money into the court case. He could afford top-range legal advice. The amounts of money that Sean was needing to borrow from us started to increase.
"18 months into Sean and Arrow's relationship, Sean was under a lot of financial pressure. Sean took up Uber driving, so he was up late at night, up early in the morning, just trying to get all the fares that he could, just to keep putting food on the table and keep supporting her.
We were scraping by. We'd pick up money where we could. Arrow told me while Steve was away, Steve wanted her to renovate his house. Steve said he'd pay us some money. The plan was to get this house renovated, make a bit of money and put that towards the legal family court costs.
Bought a house with a completely empty shell. I had nothing. I also had, just before that, a change of job. I needed to go to Scotland. Before I went away, Arrow said to me, look, you know, you've got no furniture. I really want to do something amazing for you while you're away. Will you let me decorate your house? I said, you know, of course not. Don't worry about it. We'll do it when I'm back. Just, oh, please let me do it. I really want to do something nice for you. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I went to Scotland. I was away for about 7 to 8 days.
We spent the week getting paints, curtains, new decor for the house. Whatever time I wasn't at work, I'd go over there and help her with the renovations.
Rebecca was sending me a few pics, and now this is a photo of corner of the chair. Oh, this is really great. And I said, what about you? I mean, you've been feeling so wrong, but I don't feel too bad. I've got some people helping. So who have you got helping side? Don't you worry about that. We need to worry about when you get home, the house will be fully decorated for you.
It was a fair bit of work, and obviously she wasn't able to do as much as she wanted to or she could do if she was fully fit. We had some pretty upbeat days, and it was, you know, things like that can be a bit of fun when you get on a roll.
So when I got back, Rebecca greeted me up at France and couldn't wait because she was so stoked to show me the house when I did enough. But I mean, I thought she did a great job. You know, she's like, you know, I love you. How can you not feel like $1 million when someone does that for you? I don't want Rebecca to be out of pocket, so I gave her, I think, 4,000 Aussie dollars to cover all the furniture, all the accessories, all the paint and everything else.
I can't remember at what point I thought it was strange that I hadn't heard from her, but I'd sent her a message and I haven't heard anything back, and from day one been in almost constant communication, especially You know, with her just letting me know everything's okay. The mind sort of started racing about what could have happened. Obviously, the first thought is that maybe she's been admitted into hospital or something. Still hadn't got a message back or hadn't got a phone call, and she still wasn't picking up. I thought about places I could go to find her, or someone that might have seen her or know how she is or where she is and where Sarah is. So the first place that I went was Steve's. Got out of the car and walked down there. A guy opened the door, who I'd obviously never met, but assumed was Steve.
And I'm like, what's going on?
I just said, oh, hi, is Arrow here? And he said, yeah, she was. It was just, when I just said, oh, can I speak to her? It's Sean. And walked straight past him. Just walked into the bedroom. Found her in another man's bed. She was sort of scrambling to get ready.
Rebecca said, please just let me deal with it. Just give me a couple of minutes.
I don't know how she did this next bit, but it was like a magic trick. All of a sudden, we were sitting in the car outside. She explained because we'd been having some issues, which was true, we had, and she obviously can't talk to me about it, needed someone to talk to, called Steve, and he said, yeah, come round, got a bottle of wine, and, you know, poured her heart out about all the problems we've been having, and ended up staying the night up there. Steve slept on the couch, gave her the bed because he's a really nice guy. I wanted to believe her, and so I did. So I left her there. Things definitely felt weird.
Very quickly turned around. How could you let this guy come in? I was pissed off at the situation and what happened. Not long after that, the phone's pinged. I picked it up thinking it was mine, but it was hers. She told me a few minutes later it was just Mum checking on Sarah. And right then I knew, you know, that she was she was lying. And then of course she started to get ill. She had passed out. I went in and got her phone. Went through a whole range of messages from all different people, including Sean. And always sort of think of them just like, fuck. Clearly, like when she wasn't with me, she was with him. Best thing I do is send Sean a message from her phone. I'm like, all right, I've got to speak.
We chatted for hours and we just became a couple of detectives trying to piece this story together. Once we started talking, there was no doubt about what was going on. Steve had a photo in the van on the trip across the Nullarbor. I had almost the exact same photo in the van with her and Sarah on the way over to Adelaide. She's paying for a pram or stuff for Sarah. That was what I thought she was contributing. But obviously that's Steve buying all that stuff. I'd pay for the registration on her van and Steve would pay for the service. She's not actually contributing anything. Australia Day weekend, she'd lost the baby.
Australia Day weekend, had a great time camping with Rebecca and Sarah.
She's sending me all these messages about the miscarriage. And she was with Steve at that time.
It was quite late and she was on her phone and saying, you know, what are you doing? And her reply was, I just can't sleep, I'm not feeling that well. So I'm just scrolling the internet, looking at news, and I was like, fine. Back to sleep I went.
She was nowhere near a hospital. The pregnancy wasn't real. So that was hard to take.
I just sat at the end of the bed and said, you know, I spoke to Sean for like 2 hours. I broke into your phone. I've seen all your messages. I know exactly what you did. You know, she obviously wasn't expecting that. I said, get the fuck out of my house. And that was the last time I ever saw her.
She sent me a message, tried to call me. She was saying that like a lot of what Steve's saying were lies. But still, like the rest of it, she didn't admit to. Seeing a message to say that he'd been seeing her, I think is quite different to seeing a message that says he's been seeing her for the whole time that we've been together, like right back to the very start. So that was impossible. I mean, I'm not exaggerating at all when I said there was a point where I thought I'd had some kind of mental breakdown. I thought this was maybe some sort of schizophrenic episode because I had just been under so much stress. Life had obviously been really hard. There was a moment where I thought I might actually be Steve. It didn't make any sense. I couldn't get my head around it.
Sean was obviously shocked, like a terrible dream. The betrayal of like her seeing someone else while he was also seeing Sean and like taking advantage of him financially, that kind of shocked us.
We'd heard a lot of stories at this point. He was abusive, really toxic man. We need to, you know, find out a bit more about this person. I was shocked to hear Sarah's dad's story, but I wasn't surprised. He was with her for, I think, 4.5 years in total. He nursed her through this terminal cancer diagnosis. He wasn't abusive or anything after all. Once he'd said that he needed to be a part of the cancer treatments and the oncology meetings and stuff, she'd taken Sarah and she was on a plane to Australia, and when we look at all the dates, she was in Australia for less than a couple of weeks. She'd met me and Steve and carried on where she left off, I guess. I wanted to believe that maybe the cancer was real. I was trying to come up with an explanation, but I really couldn't.
Probably been a number of years since I'd actually seen or heard from Rebecca, and out of the blue I got a message on Facebook from somebody I knew that she had been in a relationship with after me. The line of questions was very direct and almost like an investigation was going on. I don't have anything other than her words that any of this took place. You don't question someone when they tell you they have cancer.
It became very clear that everything was a lie.
Cancer was the lie that kept me in there, right? Or, you know, got me sucked in. What sort of person would fake having cancer? You have to be the lowest piece of scum on this planet.
It's almost total disbelief. How could anyone be so manipulative?
By necessity, to do this sort of thing, you have to be targeting people that are caring and empathetic about other people.
She was well versed in emotional abuse and she used it really, really effectively.
There's no way that we're the last ones. There'll be the next victims and she's probably already met them. We just wanted to warn people.
Sean messaged a couple of people on Facebook that she was in contact with, just telling them the story of what had happened and, you know, just be careful, like, watch out for her.
Sean rang me and told me that he had been left a card by one of the detectives from the Fremantle Police. That had me really worried because I know that claims of stalking are taken very seriously by the police. I knew that he hadn't done anything wrong, so I had to go with his, no, I'm just going to go in there, Mum, and I'm going to talk to them.
You know, I didn't have anything to hide and said, well, this is what she's really been doing. If there's anything else you need, I'm sure I've got evidence for. I'm sure Steve will come in and give evidence as well.
Now I got the call from the detective as well. The detective says, do you want to make a statement? And I said, hell yes. When can I come down?
They pretty quickly closed the stalking file. Once they got the other side of the story, that folder got closed pretty quickly and they started investigating her for fraud.
There was money spent on things that were fraudulent because they were cancer-related and Rebecca didn't have cancer. After telling the whole story to the detective, who's just like, wow, you know, this is a crazy story and, you know, you've really been had by this woman. The detective, he sort of explained that we're going to use what we call a honey trap. Once they've got her in, being recorded, then they use that time as asking you questions about, well, you'd said you had cancer, and, you know, Sean said you did this, and so on. I think towards the end it was some mammoth 8-hour session. She admitted to everything she'd done. They turned that situation around from her trying to lay charges on us to her being charged at the time for fraud.
None of that would have happened if she hadn't accused Sean of stalking, so she caused her own downfall by going to the police.
It was a long, drawn-out sort of process that eventually led to her just standing up in court, pleading guilty.
A love rat has been spared jail for faking cancer to con Perth men out of thousands. Rebecca Gray was instead handed a suspended sentence for duping her unsuspecting victims who fear she'll do it again.
The sentence that she got doesn't even reflect what she, you know, did financially, and financially was the absolute least of it.
Rebecca, what do you have to say for yourself?
Why did you lie, Rebecca?
Are you sorry about the men that you've duped? Today, as her lies caught up with her, she left court on crutches. Last time, it was a wheelchair.
The fact that she's in a wheelchair at court was a shock, but not a surprise.
You were walking yesterday.
She used that child as bait, certainly for Sean and for us. The resolution of the court case actually provided a great deal of support to the custody battle by Sarah's biological father. Much as I would love to have Sarah here with us so that we could continue to be her grandparents, I could not be happier that that child is in a loving, stable, supportive environment now.
Sarah's dad was just very grateful that we'd helped him get his daughter back.
It's great to think that, you know, that I helped Sean in some way, and together me and Sean helped Sarah's father. It's just a really good vibe, and sort of, you know, gone on to become really good, you know, important friends in my life.
So it was really nice to all be reunited, and then it was kind of, we had the gang all together. We had the three of us and Sarah all in Perth, and we had a little 3 men and a baby WhatsApp group.
We have got in our lives a beautiful little girl who we will continue to love and nurture and play a part in. I guess there's always some good that comes out of pretty much every situation.